referring to a presentation she did, and then I ordered her book.
Okay, we're going to get started here in a few seconds. Make sure everybody's in.
Yep, right now everybody's in, so we can get started whenever you're ready.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to CESLC Insider. Every other Wednesday, you can tune in at 12 p.m. to find education on topics that matter to you. I'm your host, Angelique Jackson, Business Development and Marketing Manager. And here at Charles E. Smith Life Communities, we offer care and services personally tailored to those we serve, wherever they are in life's journey. Our full suite of services include independent living, assisted living, memory care, post-acute care, and long-term care, as well as primary care, focusing on older adults at Hearst Health Center. To explore all that our campus has to offer, please schedule your tour today. You can visit our website or call Tony McCarthy or Greg Smythe in our Welcome Center, and they'll be able to assist you. All of the information on how to contact them will be provided to you in the chat, so take a look for the numbers and the link to the website. Also, we want to hear from you, so please type your questions. We're excited to get to those. And remember that we are recording this event, so please, if you could mute yourself, keep your comments to the chat. You can also find this recording and many others on our new resource page, and that link will be provided to you as well. Our resource page will have many more resources, brochures, information, as well as past videos and events. So now we can get started, and here to empower us with a better understanding of dementia, as well as to equip us with the tools and resources to successfully care and support our loved ones living with dementia, are two certified dementia practitioners, our very own Kathleen McGuinness, Director of Community Relations for Smith Life Home Care, and Colleen Kemp, Director of the Jewish Council for Aging Gorlitz Kensington Club. Gorlitz Kensington Club is a 2021 Leading Age Maryland award-winning social model adult daycare program for people who are diagnosed with and living with mild cognitive impairment and early dementia. Colleen and Kathleen, thank you so much for joining us today. Can you share with our audience a little bit about what you do for Smith Life Home Care and JCA? Kathleen, can you start?
Certainly. Thank you, Angelique, for having me here today. As Angelique mentioned, my name is Kathleen O'Connell Mahoney McGinnis, and I am a part of a sister company on the Charles E. Smith campus. Obviously, it's a Jewish-based campus, but I'm a perfect example that we welcome all faiths, cultures, and nationalities here. Smith Life Home Care is a sister company of Charles E. Smith Life Communities, and many people find it very valuable service, home care service, to help them as they travel a journey of dementia with their loved one. As Angelique said, I'm a certified dementia practitioner as well as an end-of-life specialist. And sadly, I've had my own family experiences that have taught me more than I ever wanted to learn about dementia. So enough of me. Colleen?
Thank you. My name is Colleen Kemp, and I'm the Director of Social Adult Day Programs for JCA, Jewish Council for the Aging. We are a 45-year-old nonprofit serving the greater Washington area, helping those who are aging in our area. We have all sorts of specialties, and you can go to our website, Access JCA. And I am a recreation therapist by training for about 30 years. We use leisure and recreation as a mode of treatment to help people restore quality of life. whenever there has been a health setback.
Thank you. So Kathleen, let's get started. If you could just tell our audience, define what is dementia, what are the causes or some of the health risk factors associated with developing a form of dementia, and how is it diagnosed?
That's a lot of questions. Dementia is not a disease. It is a syndrome of symptoms. The most prominent forms of dementia, common causes of dementia, is Alzheimer's. Other causes of dementia would be frontal temporal dementia, which is what my husband had, vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia, and then there are another additional 95 different types of dementia. So it's a complex syndrome of symptoms, and it is not a normal part of aging. As a professional and as a human with a family member with dementia, many people find it overwhelming. Hence, it's really important that you get help and support if you're caring for a loved one with dementia. And our goal here on campus and at Smith Life is to improve awareness, advocacy, and attitudes often if needed. People with dementia are not, it's not that they're not smart. They are smart. This is a disease that's impacting impulsivity controls and decision-making, and there are ways that we can help them along this road. So last, and then I'll pass it to Colleen, I think most people realize in their own home that their loved one, something is different. Their attention to their personal grooming begins to slide. My husband, who is an impeccable preppy dresser, I noticed he didn't begin to change his clothes as often as he normally would. There would be food and things on his shirt, and that just was not his behavior. And as family members, if you're involved in any financial decisions or checking account decisions with them, you will notice behaviors that are not normal for them. When I recognized that there were $700 in bounced checks, because I never looked at my husband's checking account, I was appalled at some of the changes I just didn't realize were happening in my own home. So there's lots of other clues, but generally people recognize this by small changes in behavior in the home. Then they are noticed by the primary physician, and then I think the next step, at least for us, was to go to a neurologist who specializes in diseases in the brain.
Thank you. Colleen, do you want to add to this?
Sure. We can talk a little bit about the risk factors that you may have. And it could be, like Kathleen said, it might be something that is in your family. You may already know that, and that is definitely a risk factor for dementia. And it could be a lifestyle. You could have, you're a smoker, a lifelong smoker, somebody who has been a lifelong drinker, even if you led a sedentary lifestyle. There's lots of risk factors that can contribute. Some we can control, others we cannot. So the best thing to do is to talk to your healthcare practitioner and let them know what you're concerned about, especially if you are having some symptoms.
Thank you. So, Colleen, can you describe for our audience the progression and pace of the disease or the syndrome? Excuse me.
So dementia is usually categorized into 3 stages, early, middle, and late. Like Kathleen said, in the early stages, you might notice this in yourself, you might notice in a loved one that there are issues with language, memory, motor skills, planning, personality, problem solving. But if you suspect this and you haven't been diagnosed, or you know somebody who may be experiencing this, one of the things that you can do is online, you can find the SAGE test, S-A-G-E. You can print it. It's self-administered. You can score it at home. It's very easy to find. What it is, it's a screening. It's a screening, and that is it. So if the results are telling you that it is a possibility that you have memory loss, and at that point, you can take this to your primary care provider and let them know your concerns. This is one of the most important things in deciding about a diagnosis. If your PCP decides that there is more testing that is needed, they may order cognitive testing and neurological testing, like Kathleen said, which is what happened with her husband. After diagnosis, you may get a diagnosis of one of the dementias. Early stage, people are still driving. They're still taking part in social activities, volunteering. Some people are even working with supports in place. Your role as the care partner is very, very important at this point. If you do not have a care partner, it's a great time to find someone who is going to support you through that journey. It doesn't have to be the person that you are married to, or it doesn't have to be an adult child. It just needs to be somebody who's going to support you all the way through. This person will support you, provide companionship, and help you plan for the future. When you're moving on to the middle stage of dementia, you will find that some of the things that Kathleen mentioned with her husband about dressing, she might have said to him, you really should change your shirt today. I've noticed you've worn that a couple days. There's some food on it. And he probably could have gone and picked out a new shirt and said, okay. When someone is moving into the middle stage, they may actually need physical assistance with this. So not only do they need a verbal reminder, but they may need physical assistance with getting their shirt picked out and putting their shirt back on and buttoning the buttons. And you will notice across the board that there will be more physical help that is needed. It might be with toileting, it might be with eating, and it might be with walking. At that point, your supports may include therapists of various kinds to kind of help you along the way. And I was going to mention that the earliest stage, people can live 7 to 10 years, in the earliest stage and really not have a whole lot of changes in their lifestyle, maybe some modifications and some help. When you're moving on to the middle stage, depending on which dementia and the progression, which is different for everyone. There's no cookie cutter recipe. It could be another 3 to 4 years. At that point, you might be considered in late stage, and there's significant changes physically, which Kathleen might want to talk about.
And before we move on, just real quick, there's a question from the audience who's asking where they can find the SAGE memory test.
Absolutely. It is very, very easy to find. If you know how to use Google on your computer, you just Google SAGE memory test, and it will pop up. And you can click on it, and they will have one that you can download. You can print it yourself, and it's self-administered.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And then, sure. Kathleen, can you tell us what we should expect for later stages of dementia?
Later stages of dementia, again, the progression of dementia from early to mid to late is different with every type of dementia. Mm-hmm. My father, who also had dementia and was bedridden for the last year of his life, the verbal word-finding skills greatly diminish, behaviors, impulsivity control. You really have to go into a different mode to protect someone who is in late stage forms of dementia. Many types of Parkinson's come with a type of dementia. Progressive supranuclear palsy, which is a form of Parkinson's, and that came with a diagnosis of frontal temporal dementia for my husband. So he pretty much moved through the whole scope of dementias within about 3 to 5 years is about the right frame till death, unfortunately. And there are a lot of reasons why death happens, not necessarily from the actual dementia, but repeated hospitalizations. If they have a catheter, sepsis is an issue. There's a whole host of issues that come with repeated hospitalizations that will generally take their life, not necessarily the dementia.
Thank you. Now, Kathleen, you did mention a few types of dementias. So if you could explain to our audience what the most common types of dementias are, and is there differences in behavior or declines that you see, and what can they expect to see in their loved one with each different type?
That's kind of a hard one to explain. Whether they have the early stages of frontal temporal dementia or the early stages of Alzheimer's, I would say that pretty much looks the same initially.
A lot of behavioral.
Yeah, more behavioral. When they go into mid-stage incontinence, all of those mid to late stage issues happen. But as far as the progression, it's really, you've met one person with Alzheimer's, you've met one person with Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is different. And I know that Colleen is going to speak later to some of her centers that are just amazing for early to mid-stage, that we have sent so many clients to. They are just fabulous.
Okay. And I think we have, there's a question from the audience that just wants some clarification. Did you say late stage is 3 to 5 years?
That depends on the actual diagnosis. In my particular case, my father's was 5 to 7 years from beginning to end for him. My husband, who was a 73-year-old, I was a 69-year-old man at diagnosis, that particular neurologist gave him 3 to 5 years. And there were some other mitigating circumstances with that. Everybody is different.
True, and it depends on the health, the actual physical health of the person at the time of diagnosis. So there's a reason why they call Alzheimer's disease the long goodbye. It is a pretty long journey depending on, when somebody is diagnosed, at what stage. And it could be, on an average, if you're diagnosed very, very early with mild cognitive impairment, like I said, you can, pretty much, go on living your life for another 7 to 10 years. If you wait and until you're noticing more physical changes, you may be already close to mid-stage, and then your journey is going to be a little shorter.
Thank you so much, ladies. We have a slide to kind of recap what we just discussed to, help our audience. It's kind of a very heavy information. So if we can just add that to our presentation here.
Is that the Dementia 101?
Yes.
Increase your
Yes,
fluency.
the increase the fluency, that's the first slide. So bear with us. Thank you for your patience. Well, I guess we could just continue to talk. And I just really want to ask Colleen, is there anything that one can do to slow the progression? Are there lifestyle changes or medications to help with that?
Yeah, definitely. You can definitely make some immediate lifestyle changes upon diagnosis. Connecting socially and staying physically fit. Those are two things that you can control, you can do. It is very good for the brain. It's very good for the body. So I can't stress that enough. And there are ways to do that very inexpensively. Doesn't mean you have to go out and join an expensive gym. By walking every day, and as we found out during the pandemic, there are lots of exercise programs that can be accessed via your computer. You don't even have to leave home. So those are things that you can do right away. Currently, there are medications that are readily available once you have that diagnosis, and of course, this is between you and your primary care provider. You might recognize brand names such as Namenda or Aricept. It's important to note that these medications, they're not cures for dementia, but they can definitely help give quality of life by helping your thinking and helping your memory. They're short term, but it can give you quality of life. I wanted to note it's kind of exciting. There's a new drug. A lot of people do not know about this drug yet. It's called Aduhelm, and it's really for Alzheimer's. I believe it was approved over the summer. It has some promising effects. It's administered intravenously. CMS decided that Medicare would cover it if you were enrolled in a clinical trial. So it's very, very important. It's good for anybody who's been diagnosed to check out clinical trials. I know so many people who have, and it's been a world of education for them and their care partners. You can go to clinicaltrial.gov and get a list of all the clinical trials going on, and then find out more about Aduhelm if you're interested.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is very exciting.
And we'll make sure that we can, after the event, we'll give you the link to that information as well. So, moving on, Kathleen, what are some of the biggest challenges when caring for a loved one at home who's living with a form of dementia? And are there any tools available to help care for our loved ones at home safely and successfully?
Yes, there are. Let's see, the biggest challenge, I think the biggest challenge is for the family member caregiver who is helping to care for this person, and the emotional stress of worrying about them, whether you're not in their presence. It's a 24/7 role, and it is constant. So if I wasn't there, I needed to make sure somebody else was there. That's a great, opportunity for Smith Life Home Care and our caregivers to be there to give the family caregiver, even if it's just 4 or 5 hours a day, a mental health break so that they can take care of themselves. I know when my husband passed away, I had not seen a doctor for myself in over 2 years because I work, if I have to take time off, I'm going to take him to the doctor, not myself. So it has a significant family impact as well as exhaustion, and just the constant being on high alert, which is why, obviously having an external caregiver come and sit with your family member, watch over them while you take a break. There are many programs in Montgomery County, which Colleen will speak about, that are great to put them in a program where they're happy, engaged, and safe. There are also applications that family members can use that will be helpful to keep them safe.
Yeah.
Hand signal, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. So this app slide is up there now?
Okay.
So for those of you in the audience, I'm going to talk about apps in just a moment. If you don't know the difference between an app is what you would use on your iPhone, your iPad, not on a desktop. So it's a very portable support product to help you, software. And many of the apps, I'm only going to talk about 4 today, that I found useful in with our clients on campus in Montgomery County, Washington, D.C., and the caregivers can help clients with these apps. So an app just is large of memory, and it is designed to perform a specific task, like an Alexa app. That's all it does, is just manage Alexa on your phone, iPhone, or tablet. It can also be on your desktop, but apps for caring for somebody with dementia, to me, were great products because I could do it on the go, wherever I am, on my phone or my iPad. That covers that, I hope. So questions are welcome.
So caring for a loved one who's living with dementia is a full-time job, and so it is helpful to have some support at home. And, you know, technology is amazing. It allows us to be able to safely care for our loved ones at home. And yes, I'd love to hear some of the ones that you find are most successful in your experience.
So these apps here that you see on your screen, dementia patients don't always do what they're asked to do. In my experience with my husband, Joe, I would go to work for 4 hours and I would say, don't leave that chair.
How well did that work?
Not too well. It did initially in the beginning, but later, when Joe would remember his grandchild was having a birthday, then we would find Joe down River Road going to the toy store all by himself with his little walker on River Road. This was not a happy feeling for me. So I did also have an Apple Watch, which would alert me, Joe has fallen, River Road. I'm like, oh, what's he doing on River Road? Anybody who has a loved one with dementia knows that awful feeling you get when you walk in your home and they are not there.
Right.
So, Smart Souls is one product. The website address is there. It's a GPS tracker for people generally in late stage and wanderers. It interfaces with your phone. It's about $300. It is helpful specifically because people with mid to late stage dementia do not want to be tracked. They do not want a watch on them. They do not want any kind of a product that's not something they're normally comfortable with. So if I put these souls in their shoes, they don't know they're being tracked, and there are all kinds of Alzheimer alerts, your police department, different, where you can help keep better track of this wanderer. You know, it starts at home by having different locks and all. There's a whole world of products out there. These are just 4 quick ones that I found very helpful for myself. Caringbridge.org is a trusted, respectful website to help families through any kind of a health journey or crisis. It's very simple. You can create a family website in approximately 3 minutes. My sister-in-law had a brain bleed in England and spent 8 months there, and so we used it to coordinate visits to go support my brother who couldn't get my sister-in-law home from England. So for my husband, Joe, it was good to have like a meal train on there. People would send food to my home because I don't really want to cook. I don't have time to cook. And so this is, people want to know, what can we do? Caringbridge.org is a great way to let your extended family or your network know, I need this on Tuesdays. My husband Joe was in a assisted living facility for respite care after he had broken multiple bones in a fall. And so we could use Caringbridge.org because the assisted living place where he was, they needed a spotter for his Parkinson's exercise. And they needed a spotter every Tuesday. So you go on Caringbridge.org and you say, I need a spotter for 1 hour at XYZ. People are amazing, and I think it's helpful to give them a task that they can do. The next one I'll speak about briefly is Alexa. And just so you know, I do Zoom presentations throughout our community about all of these apps. Artificial intelligence. My contact information will be there. If you want one for your church or synagogue or whatever it might be, I'm happy to do them, and they are free of charge. The next one, briefly, I don't want to take up too much time, is Alexa. These artificial intelligence products are amazing, I found, for dementia communications or for people. it can respond to them in a non-emotional way. If you're caring for somebody who has dementia and it is the 16th time they've asked you, what time is it? I wasn't as nice on 15 ask as I was one. You know, everybody's human.
Right.
So, you know, you can ask Alexa, what time is it? Alexa, read the front page of the newspaper. Even when my husband was at another location, it was very comforting. Music is very comforting to people with mid to late stage of dementia. And to be able to go on my iPhone and play doo-wop music every night at 8:30 where he was living was really comforting to him. He liked that. And also to be able to have Alexa announce, Kathleen is coming for your dental appointment at 2 p.m. because late stage or mid stage dementia people don't turn on their phones. And they don't have phones in their rooms in a lot of places. There's no way I could get to him except Alexa. It was comforting to be able to nag long distance. You know, because communication is important. And Alexa can call 911 for you. Alexa can do medication reminders. Alexa can do many things in your own home, from downstairs to upstairs. The caregiver is going up 3 flights of stairs often, so it just makes sense to have an Alexa on the 3rd floor, have an Alexa on the 1st floor, and then you can announce dinner is ready, or whatever it is that you want to communicate. But I found it to be an excellent tool. I do almost a whole hour on all of the nuances of Alexa, or you can just Google the Amazon.com Echo app, and they will tell you all the amazing things you can do. They also have Alexas that are HIPAA compliant now for the medical profession to feel comfortable speaking into an Alexa, and many of the new assisted living facilities have Alexa built in.
Wow, she's quite an assistant.
She is. And you can rename Alexa to whatever you want. If you want your Alexa to be called Fred, you can change that.
Are there any other tools?
There are many other tools, but the last one I was going to speak about was constant therapy, AP, which is for aphasia and fairly constant brain exercises. This one is predominantly used by the Stroke Comeback Center, another partner in care, or anybody in the therapy world for often temporary induced dementia. If you've had a brain bleed or you have alcoholic-induced dementia, there are, as we said, many types of dementia. Some dementias will improve with brain exercises. Some brain bleeds, people recovering from strokes really benefit from this app, which again is a purchase. It's about $250, and it's generally done with a therapist or a caregiver because most people, when they're given homework to do, don't do their homework. So that segues into BCAT, which is also a beautiful tool that's offered at the Heber home in their rehab for people who are coming out of the hospital. You know, as I said, there's many, many tools out there, but maybe Angelique wants to do a quick segue for the BCAT program.
Yes, here across campus, we are proud to be a cognitive Center for Excellence, partnering with BCAT, which means Brief Cognitive Assessment Tool. It is offered across campus, and it really, there's the ability to be able, through this assessment, to kind of gauge where somebody is cognitively and then structure their programming around that. And, you know, it's provided all the way from independent living with brain gym modules, And even in post-acute, someone, had a long hospital stay and now they need to come to Hebrew Home for additional therapy and nursing care. It's built into the programming as well. And even once they are discharged, they're able to go back in and access those cognitive models. So it's amazing.
It is an amazing
product. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so it's just amazing how far technology can support us. I'm impressed about the Caringbridge, just to know that community will come and support you, things that you need. And Alexa's pretty amazing. I think I'm going to need one of your Zoom training sessions.
Happy to do one.
So we mentioned a little bit about communication. We mentioned that Kathleen can be a little frustrated after the 17th question of when dinner's ready. But Colleen, how important is it to correct some of the confused thinking, or is it ever appropriate to correct that?
Not really. After diagnosis, I think it's really important that, as a rule of thumb, not to try your best, not to correct, contradict, blame, or insist. Verbal reminders, become more unkind, I think, when you are repeating. It's just one of those human things, human behavior things. I think it reminds the person with dementia just how much decline there has been. You don't really want to do that. You don't want to remind them that they have a disability. So it's really hard, but and it's individual for everyone, but find a different way to say things. You might want to rephrase things, especially if there's a loop of talking, which is just to repeat the same question coming over and over. Maybe try to break the loop by rephrasing it, can we, or join me, or let's try this. If safety is an issue, absolutely, you want to keep the person safe, so, you want to remove them from danger, so I think at that point correcting is okay. But you always want to try to treat your loved one with dignity, especially if language is an issue. And I always try to remember that golden rule and think about how you would like to be talked to, especially if you were in that person's shoes. And think about that right now, why you are healthy, to think, if I had dementia, how would I want to be treated? And that's exactly how that person wants to be treated.
Colleen, that is so well said. A small vignette of my personal experience was with dementia was I got angry with my father. Angry frequently the first year because he would say things that just didn't make sense. And my husband also, I'm like, why are you saying that? You're wrong. And I was wrong to say that, but that's why I became a certified dementia practitioner, so I could better understand what was happening. At some level, I realized I was losing my loved one. They are gradually drifting away from me, which was heartbreaking. So I believe I got angry instead of cried about it. But I did get better. I did learn, and I did learn to meet them where they are. When my 88-year-old father, when I visited him at his nursing home, and he announced he wanted a blue suit because he had a job interview tomorrow, and I went, oh, no kidding, Daddy, 88, and you have an interview. That's fabulous. And I said, so who are you interviewing with? And he went, the bank. And I went, that is just great. Look at that. You've been in commercial real estate all your life, and now you're going to be a banker. And, it was a great conversation that ended well until he asked me if I was spending all of his money, and I said, just a little bit. But, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. And meeting them where they are, as Colleen said, is really important. Don't argue. Don't take their inventory. Don't tell them they're wrong. Just roll with it.
Because I can imagine this might be one of the most difficult aspects when caring for a loved one.
It is, and there's lots of education in this county. If you go to the Alzheimer's Association website, they are always offering a session on how to understand, communicate better with your loved one with dementia. They also talk a lot about behavioral issues. And so all over the county, it's being given. And I think if you don't see one, you can write the contact on the website and find out where it's being offered. It's a great way to get education about it.
Thank you. Yeah, we will make sure that we have the link provided in the chat. And we did kind of talk about preserving one's dignity because, you know, before this diagnosis, they were mothers, fathers, commercial real estate agents. So how can we continue to preserve what matters most to our loved ones? And are there any programs at all to engage them cognitively? I know we talked about one of Kathleen's acts, but anything else that helps keep our loved ones connected socially? Kathleen, do you want to start?
Well, actually, I think that might be, I mean, I have several resources I can mention, but I have always been impressed with JCA's resources continuing for family members at Kensington, and Colleen can speak about those experiences, which are just terrific for helping them keep what they have by being engaged socially.
Thank you.
Sure. So as Kathleen mentioned, when she would go to work for 4 hours, it made me think of our program that we offer. It's a social adult day program. So there are 2 models of adult day programs in Montgomery County. There are medical models and social models. And a social model would be that after diagnosis and early stage memory loss, you are trying to put together as many supports as you can for your loved one. And it can include many things. There are also memory cafes, and I can speak a little bit about those as well, sponsored by the Alzheimer's Association. There's lots of different programs, and I think we'll have a slide, right? To kind of, so I'll speak on, just because it is the program that I know best. The Kensington Club has been around for about 14 years. It's a 4-hour program, and somebody would come to visit the program to see if they like it. There are usually up to 10 men and women in the program. There are 2 activity leaders who lead and plan activities. It meets right now in the mornings, 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. So a caregiver could go and work if they wanted. We're located in Rockville. And it's a way for someone to really get support and friendship. It could be that it's frustrating because they may see friends starting to drift away, maybe not come to the house quite as often or plan activities, because it's difficult. It's difficult to maintain a friendship when somebody may not remember you or maybe repeating themselves. And again, we can't blame human nature. It's just one of those things. We try to do the best that we can, but it is frustrating on many levels. And so it might be time to find a new friends group, and it's possible by doing that. So I think Angelique will probably give our contact information at the end. So
yes, after the event, I'll make sure to have all of the wonderful resources that both these ladies have mentioned for everyone. So we'll make sure to do that.
I have a question, Colleen. One thing that was important to me was transportation.
Mm-hmm.
Are you all back to providing transportation or not yet?
we do not. So we are not providing transportation for the social adult day program. Right now, people are coming either by private driver. There are lots of programs in the county. As I always say this, we are rich in resources here. So Senior Connection has a program called Senior Rides, and it is trained volunteers who will take your loved one to programs like the Kensington Club or doctor's appointments. We also have escorted transportation programs at JCA, so you can find that on our website. And we also have, at JCA, we have a program called Connect a Ride, and it's a resource program. So you would call, if you were having trouble finding, transportation, you could call Connect a Ride, and they will probably list a lot more than what I'm listing right now, because that's just what they do, that's their specialty. And we have a lot of transportation options in our county. Metro Access is another, way of getting from here to there. And that's something that you can find if you Google Metro Access in, Montgomery County. So there's lots of ways of getting around, for sure.
So there's lots of programs out there supported by the county.
I also wanted to mention villages. I know everyone is familiar with the village movement in Montgomery County. If you have questions about villages, we actually have somebody who can point you in the right direction at JCA, so you would go onto our website. We have village coordinators, and the villages often have driver programs, so volunteer driver programs, and they're all trained, background checked. Not every village has them, but you, again, could call the Village Rides rep at our agency, and they would tell you. We have many people who come to the program with a village volunteer driver, and it's a really great program.
Yes. It's just so heartwarming to see the community come together and support, you know, its members, so.
Yeah, and the driving community is back. I'm on the board of directors for 2 village communities, one in Chevy Chase and one in Friendship Heights, and the driving component is back. It was gone for quite a long time, but the villages, we have 32, I believe, in Montgomery County, Gaithersburg, Bethesda, everywhere. So that's another resource that somebody with a family member with dementia would want to look into.
Wonderful. So then I know we're almost coming to time. We want to get to questions, but I just want to ask this is a very important question to Kathleen, who has a lot of experience working with Smith Life Home Care. Can you tell our audience when is a good time to consider getting help at home? I guess we did kind of touch, you know, why it would be important to hire a private duty caregiver to help alleviate some of the stress. But what about when it's no longer safe to stay at home, for instance, and maybe they would need more support, like Cohen Rosenhaus, our memory support resident. Could you guide us through how you would support one of your clients in this way?
Well, you know, Smith Life Home Care is often there from beginning to final placement, starting at home with family member. Our caregivers drive, they have their own cars, or they can drive a family car and take them to and from programs and give family members relief. If they go into an assisted living facility like Landau House or Cohen Rosen, which would be for more advanced stage dementia, many people also hire caregivers to help support that experience because some family members or some loved ones require more one-on-one than can be provided. Again, every person with any form of dementia is different. Their experience is different, and you know, I can count maybe 14 assisted living facilities in this area where we have a Smith Life Home Care caregiver just there for 4 hours a day to make sure that resident walks, you know, their favorite walking path, but it's not safe for them to walk by themselves. And the assisted living property does not have all the staffing if 8 people want to take a walk at the same time. It's just not feasible these days. So that is one way that, you know, we can help guide somebody through the process.
Thank you. Yeah, because like Cohen Rosenhaus, they have a secured area for folks who do need that added safety. And so I'd love to get to the questions. Thank you, ladies. This is the best part, right? So going all the way back, I know we spoke about being diagnosed, and someone is asking if you could recommend some names of neurologists in the area.
Sure. When you send out your resources, I can provide a list of neurologists that, there's really 2 major groups, I think, in Montgomery County. and I'm happy to provide those too if you want to send those out.
Thank you, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so our next question.
I can also add that just that like, we saw Dr. Harry Hall, was part of the Chevy Chase group, and she enrolled us in a clinical trial. So most of these neurologists know about clinical trials for Alzheimer's. We were able to get an Alzheimer's test that normally would cost $5,000, but because we were enrolled in the clinical trial process, it was paid for by Medicare. We just had to agree to a follow-up study.
Wonderful. I'll make sure to have that list after the event for everyone. And our next question, what is the approximate time span for each stage of Alzheimer's for someone diagnosed in their early 60s with relatively good health?
If it's relatively good health, you know, if that person's in good health, they can live a long time. Like I said, the earlier the diagnosis, you are able to put a lot of supports in place. And so I think that as long as that person remains connected socially, physically fit, remaining engaged, you know, with family and care partners, it really just depends on the progression of disease. The progression is so, I can't stress this enough, it is so different for every person. It's sobering to see somebody who is progressing very quickly through the disease, and there's really no way to understand why others will live 15 years with the disease. So it really depends, and also the types of dementia. Some progress a little quicker than others.
Thank you. I hope that was helpful. How do doctors make differential diagnoses about types, how do they make,
Types
how
of
do they,
dementia,
yes.
So there are so many, and somebody may be manifesting classic symptoms of certain dementias early on. And so with Kathleen, you know, with her husband, he was showing marked changes with personality and behavior, and usually that's indicative of frontotemporal or Alzheimer's. So they would go with that as the primary manifestation of the disease, and then just, you know, that would warrant further testing to check the brain and see what's going on in there. With Lewy Body, it could be that the person is exhibiting some Parkinsonian type symptoms, and so also with the Parkinson's dementia as well. So that will warrant a certain kind of testing for that. With vascular dementia, somebody may be having many strokes, one after the other, and then showing a lot of changes cognitively and physically. So then they would, you know, check out what's going on there, and that may warrant a vascular dementia diagnosis. So it really just depends on the most obvious symptoms, I think, that the person is manifesting. And I think that is so important to keep track and record all those symptoms, and then talk to your primary care provider and say, I am seeing this. It's not in my imagination. I am seeing these, and that way that will help your doctor find the best diagnosis, help them.
On my journey, that's perfect counsel, Colleen, and I believe it's more of a process of elimination than going into a doctor initially, and they would say you have Lewy Body or you have Alzheimer's or whatever. It took us 3 years to get a diagnosis. And along that journey, I did keep a journal of symptoms because, you know, I forget. And that was very helpful, and because he would dispute what I said, and I would go, no, you know, November 13th, I wrote, you know, you had fall and you did this, you got to, no, whatever it is. But a journal helps me realize that I'm still sane, because it can be challenging.
That's perfect. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. So I can answer this question. Is BCAT available to people in early stage dementia who live in independent living? Absolutely. It's available to both of our independent living residents at Revit's House and Ring House. And I will make sure to provide information after the event as well. So we'll have a whole page just full of resources for everyone. And we have added in the chat too, the Montgomery County Caregiver Support Program, because, I know, you know, the caregivers, that's at 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no day off. Are there any other programs or anything else, for caregivers, before we?
I have one. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was also going to mention, and I feel neglectful in not saying this, somebody had asked, is there a person that could speak and guide to prepare for the future, just, you know, overall. And I want to say something about geriatric care managers in Montgomery County. And, you know, visiting loved ones in other cities and other states, we're really lucky here. We have a lot of really great geriatric care managers. And I'm sure Angelique can also send out some resources, some local agencies. There are many good ones, so I don't want to name just one, so I'm sure she'll want to name a few that are very reputable. They've been here a very long time. And I think geriatric care managers are trained to kind of, almost like an oncologist, you know, who would really try to arrange all the different therapies if you had a cancer treatment. Well, a geriatric care manager would basically put into place all the supports with a dementia diagnosis.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a very important, or a very, important resource, aging life care.
Yeah, for sure.
The only other comment I might mention as a resource is Smith Life Home Care has just opened a new office in Friendship Heights, Chevy Chase, and that is to support that community. And there are 11 high-rises there for people trying to age in place. So it is a unique business model, not offered elsewhere except on campus here at Charles E. Smith campus. But it is 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of service. And we're having an opening ceremony March 15th at 10:30, 4600 North Park Avenue in Chevy Chase. And this Independence Plus program is unique to this village in Friendship Heights and to this condominium high-rise community that is the highest concentration of seniors in Montgomery County trying to age in place. So we are the first one offering this service. So please give us a call at 301-816-5020.
That's exciting. Wow.
It is.
How wonderful.
It sounds like there's somebody looking for 1 hour blocks of time to help a loved one, and that might be to call Smith Life and
Right,
see
they're
how
not
that
ready
can
for
work
8
out.
or 10 hours of care,
You're
1
right,
hour, 2
right.
hours, but only in Friendship Heights right now.
Okay.
Call Kathleen. Well, it's 1 o'clock, so that concludes our discussion. Thank you so much, Kathleen and Colleen, for such an insightful discussion, empowering our audience with tools that would help them, you know, safely and successfully care for their loved ones living with dementia. Thank you, everyone who tuned in, and join us March 23rd, same time, to discuss healthy living and active lifestyle with Parkinson's disease. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.